This is a ladder game I just played. It's a Zerg versus Protoss. I'm doing my Hydralisk build. I'm actually doing a little bit of a different thing where I'm just doing it as an all-in, where I'm not trying to transition to the late game, so I can get in more games where I'm trying to hotkey my units right. So the thing I'm looking at for this game is, am I having vision? Still practicing that. And did I hotkey my units from their eggs? So I still don't have my all-army key bound. What I want to do here is every time that I'm checking that the Overlords are spread, which is starting every 4 minutes, every 2 minutes, I also want to check by each of my hatcheries to see if there are units sitting there that have not been hotkeyed properly, because that means I'm not getting them hotkeyed from the eggs. Once I'm getting them hotkeyed from the eggs super consistently, I'm going to start putting them into 2 to 3 control groups by default from the eggs. You'll see a little bit of a weird that I put my army at 9 and 0 because I have the keys bound to different than the default buttons, but those are the buttons I use for my army control right now. I sometimes also use 2, 3, and 4, but 9 and 0 are the defaults that I have, but they're not actually bound to 9 and 0. So I forgot to actually check that I'm not getting cannon rushed. I did see this was Protoss. I should have already been doing that with that second Overlord. Fortunately, I spot the probe there and am able to turn around in time to find out I am not in fact getting cannon rushed. I screwed this up a little bit. I'm late on my spawning pool. It throws off some of my very early game, but it's really not the end of the world on that. It could have been if my opponent was cannon rushing me, so it's a good thing that they're not. I did end up building some Zerglings extra Zerglings that had extra minerals here, and it ends up clearing out this probe. I figure, well, I'll make a few extra Zerglings and go over put some pressure on my opponent to keep them contained or keep an eye on when they're moving onto the map. See, I also didn't put all 3 in the gas right away because I can't spend gas before I have the spawning pool up anyway. And it timed out almost right to get Zergling speed once the pool finished. Now, it's still wasting a few larvae that could be drones right now, but one thing I've also been noticing is that as Zerg, I'm not going over there and getting in my opponent's face as much as I could be. So that's another thing I'm trying, is just making only a couple more Zerglings in the early game. Not talking about making 20 Zerglings, but making, 10 Zerglings in the early game or something like that, and going and attacking my opponent with them. Or going and sitting by their base to make it awkward for them to leave, that kind of thing. So my Overlord keeps going, checking, getting complete scout. I've been clicking on things, so that's good, because I saw it was another gateway on the building that I went over. I'm sending it over to just see what units here. Oh, my opponent has a complete wall off with the hold position in the wall. They have the potential force field if their wall isn't really actually complete. So I set my Zerglings over here by this potential third base to keep my opponent from attempting to take it, and possibly to counterattack later. If I see my opponent on the map, I send the Zerglings into their mineral line at the natural. So I'm still looking for any other tech with this Overlord. I made Overlord speed. It's going to finish momentarily. Try to get a good scout. I'm like, where does my opponent have more buildings? Do they really not have more buildings? So we're a few seconds away here from needing to look at where everything is at 4 minutes. Okay. So here's 4 minutes. I see my opponent's tech. I see that they're just making gateway units. I tried to see if there's anything in their main. It didn't appear that there was. Okay, so I've got just a queen here. I've got just a queen here. This one's still constructing. Okay, and all these Zerglings are on my hotkey 0. So that's correct. Keep moving on. Put this back to my player cam. So I see my opponent still has a wall. They're adding a secondary wall there with the adepts by the shield battery. Okay, I can't really break that. So I just leave my Zerglings where they are. I'm still trying to see if my opponent is doing anything else with that Overlord. I see in the production tab that there's a Twilight Council and a Robo, but but I don't know if I ever went back and actually checked that during the game. So I'm just doing my thing of getting the layer and then getting all the tech that goes with that. I've decided I'm only getting the plus melee upgrade so that my Zerglings and Banelings kill things faster. And I'm going to attack with that and just try to end the game at +1 attack and not transition to anything later. Just play this as more of an all-in than I have been. And not try to go later game because it gets me just more quick games to try to get into practice for the things I need to do. Because the earlier parts of the game are when this is most important to be doing. I feel like maybe I didn't hotkey this hatchery for too long. Look at that queen energy at the main base there. Means I missed a couple injects. So my Zerglings are still up there. Okay, they got attacked up there, so the Protoss was trying to move out. Did some exchange without me even looking at it, which is okay. That was like part of the point of leaving the Zerglings on the map, is they can just be in my opponent's way. And my opponent doesn't know what else is out there, they don't know if I was paying attention to that or not. So just, you know, trying to be a scary presence on the map to my opponent. I'm not holding the watchtowers on this map, I will note that. That is a failure in my vision right now. Costs only 50 minerals a Zerg to hold both watchtowers. Because here's our 6-minute vision check. Okay, this is relatively near where it... I guess it needs to be a little bit south of where it is to really see this third. Got the next base one. This one can see that one constructing. Got another one for the base up here. Okay, now we got to look at... Are there units hanging out? Do I even have army units right now? No. Okay. So, plan currently, I'm just making all of my tech structures. I'm just finishing. The Baneling Nest is about to finish in a second. Then I'm going to just pump out units constantly once they're done. So, my Zerglings being over here kept my opponent from moving out to do this attack, which is good. Kept me actually safe by just me having a few units on the other side of the map. So here, so I did see constructing both the Robo and the Twilight, but I failed to click on them when I went over them with the Overlord because I was looking at other things. Alright. Put this back on my player cam. So the only things I get in this are +1 melee and the speed upgrade for every unit I make. And then it's nothing but making units after that. Eventually I make some defensive structures so I get a good enough fight that I'm pretty sure my opponent's only way to come back is to use Dark Templar against me, so I would just make sure I don't die to those. I could have more creep spread than I do, but that's not actually a current focus, other than it being part of vision. It's a bigger deal to have the watchtowers held, which is a thing I fail at a lot more. So I made sure I put enough in gas so I could actually make Hydralisks, because they are a pretty gas-intensive unit for mid-level tech. Especially if I'm making Banelings out of a bunch of Zerglings. So since I know I want to just go over and attack my opponent constantly, I knock down the rocks headed toward them to make it a fast travel time for me. Unfortunately, I did have an observer see all of these things move out.
Mutation complete.
And yet, still, I feel like my opponent's army was not in the right place when I got up there, despite the fact that I'm pretty sure they saw my army moving out, destroying the first rocks, and destroying the second rocks, and yet I get over there and somehow it's not correct. Like, I get over there and they're taking this third that's more in the middle of the map. So I just come through the smoke here and, oh hey look, constructing Nexus. Time to get a cancel. My opponent's army's for some reason down there to the right instead of out here in front of it, even though they saw that with an observer. Okay, 8-minute vision check. What do we got? Oh, we got pretty good sight. Still not holding the watchtowers. I don't think I ever did that this game. I still don't actually see this base. Like, it could be constructing, I wouldn't even know. But got eyes in a lot of places with my overlords. There's no phoenixes hunting them down, so just getting a whole bunch of free vision with that. I have not spread my creep in 2 minutes. That's a little bit of a problem. Okay, so are you guys on hotkeys? Hang on, let's select. Aha. Yes, those are all hotkeyed. Those all are on a hotkey, which means they're getting done from the egg, but I need to make sure I attack move them again. Everything is currently on a hotkey that is part of my army. Good. So my reinforcements are coming, parading across the map, doing this engagement. I disengage mostly from it because I'm not trying to get surrounded here where my opponent made the good force fields. I go, oh yeah, this seems bad for me. But I do make some banelings to try to blow up on my opponent. Here, I send them because I'm trying to get the zealots. I end up blowing up on them and putting a lot of damage on them, not quite killing them. So it'll be at least easier to pick off in the future. They'll have regenerated their shields probably, but that's not a big deal. That queen has a lot of energy. The queen's missed 3 injects. Okay. So like I said, I'm playing this as much more of just an all-in, where I'm just attack, attack, attack. I canceled their third, so I know I'm pretty far ahead on that front. I go over and check out their other potential third. I have eyes on a whole bunch of bases. I don't quite have them on the bottom right corner base, which is one they could sometimes expand to, but I mostly have eyes on the bases. So I go over here, okay, they don't have a third. Okay, so you see I'm starting all these defensive structures because I go, okay, I think the only way I can die is if they bring a bunch of Dark Templar into my base, and I just die because I'm unprepared for that. So I put up all these static defense so that while I'm attacking, I don't have to go back and look at my bases. They will handle the Dark Templar if they're on the map. I see here my opponent's making Storm, but I don't know that they made a single High Templar. Well, I guess they had an Archon earlier, so they must have, but I don't know if they have any that stayed as High Templar at any point in this game. Alright, so my opponent was moving out, and that's right when I sent some Zerglings into their base. That worked out well. That was actually complete blind luck. But then I go over here, like, okay, here's my Hydralisks, and we have send in the Zerglings, or the Banelings behind them. I actually need to micro these Hydralisks a little bit earlier to let the Banelings through, so that they can get on top of the gateway units more efficiently. But I realized, okay, well, I have just so much stuff. These 2 Colossus, it's not going to be enough to deal with my forces. Just surround. So it's slightly after 10 minutes, but I can look at my vision again here. So we do have still not quite eyes on this base, but I was just ran past it a second ago. Just killed that base. Have eyes here. Still not holding the watchtowers. Still haven't moved the creep since, what, 6-minute mark? Okay. Are there units standing by any base that are not hotkeyed? Does not appear so. So that's good. And then still had all these Hydralisks. My opponent did in fact get Psionic Storm, but never had a High Templar, I don't think. Except for the one they made into Archons earlier. So that's the current plan, is letting me play games, in like 10 minutes at a time. And just keep getting better with division. Gotta really work on holding the watchtowers. That's a big one on the maps that have them.